I designed Elvira to solve a common frustration that I faced when quilting with rulers, and I think she's going to help you out as well. Hey guys, I'm Angela Walters from Quilting is My Therapy. In this video, I'm going to introduce you to one of my new rulers, Elvira. When quilting on my sewing machine or my long arm, I don't like having to work from all sides of the foot. And when working with curved rulers, sometimes you have to. Now this is a part you can imagine a cheesy infomercial. Do you hate working from all sides of your quilting foot? Do you find yourself frustrated with having to strain your arms? Well, Elvira changes that. Okay, well, it's not quite that dramatic, but still, she's gonna make quilting so much easier. She really shines when quilting continuous curves in 2-inch squares. Why 2-inch squares? Well, they just happen to be the size square that you get when you use, I don't know, like pre-cut strips or jelly rolls. But be sure to stick around to the end of the video because I have a free goodie just for you. I'm gonna start by quilting an arc along the top and then quilt this row out and back. Once I'm at the bottom, I'll slide down, aligning my reference mark along that seam and repeat going the opposite direction. I quilted my continuous curves, alternating direction, and then returning doing the opposite back to the starting point, where I can just quilt my next arc and repeat across the area. These reference lines are going to let you adjust the ruler as you quilt down the block. Again, lining up those reference lines and repeating back to the top. Once you get to the edge of the ruler, even if you still have blocks left to go, just reposition, lining that up with the seam, and then continuing on. Now let's pretend this is the end of the block that I want to work on. Instead of quilting my line on both sides, I'm only going to want arcs on one side, and I can do this one of two ways. I could line up my Elvira ruler, quilt to one point, and then reposition. Pull it back down, lining up my lines with the seams as much as possible. Then when I get to one of the horizontal lines, I can do the same thing. Positioning my ruler, lining up my seam lines, and then quilting my way across the block and back. And repositioning to do the other side. By being able to reposition the ruler, it's allowing me to work from this side of the foot instead of having to put it behind the foot or having to rotate the quilt. And once you get to the edge of your ruler, you're just going to reposition and then continue on. Now I need to add curves along the bottom side of my block, so I can use this side of Elvira to make that happen. Repositioning and continuing on. Then working up the side. And then I can just reposition the ruler. And I have one more row that I need to put my continuous curves on. Since this side goes down, I know that my other side needs to go up, so I'm going to take the highest part of my ruler and settle it towards the center of my block, using these lines to center it, and then repeating on the way back. When I get to the edge of my ruler, I'm just going to line it up and continue. All that's left to do is to quilt another curve to my starting point. And I have my continuous curves that I was able to quilt in the whole block without having to work from all sides of the foot. So when designing this ruler for those continuous curves, I was assuming that there was about 1/4 inch spacing between your needle and the edge of your foot. And I'm also assuming that you're a better piecer than me and that your blocks end up right about around 2 inches square. If that's not the case, don't worry, you can still reposition her slightly as you work your way throughout the blocks. But you don't have to use Elvira just for continuous curve. You can also use her to create some really fun, funky, wavy designs on your quilt. Once you get to the edge of the ruler, you could just repeat it to this point so that now you have a continuous wavy line. Or you can reposition the whole ruler. It gives you a fun, different shape wavy line, which I really like how it looks on quilts. These needle stops that she has on the top and bottom and on this outer curve are what really make it easy to reposition the ruler quickly. Now, even though these curves were designed for continuous curve, you can repeat them to make a fun scalloped effect. Simply quilt along the top of the ruler, reposition, and continue on. The needle stops make it a breeze to easily reposition the ruler. Now let's say you want to quilt your next row so that it's a reverse image. Just simply rotate her around, and now I have the curve going the opposite direction. Even though she doesn't have needle stops on this side, she does have a marking that shows you where you want to stop. So whether you use Elvira for continuous curve, fun wavy lines, or to add an awesome texture to your quilt, I think you're going to love her as much as I do. Now how about that free goodie? I put together a free downloadable PDF which shows you how to use Elvira to quilt those continuous curves in your blocks, as well as some tips on how to use her to quilt wavy lines and scallops. I think you're going to love that, so just check out the description box below for the link to all that information. Plus, I put together an absolutely free rulers class which shows you how to master all 3 of these rulers. You can quilt along with me on the same exact quilt as we take Taj, Elvira, and Chevy and learn how to use them to make motifs, borders, and background fillers, and more. And be sure to let me know your questions. Just leave them in the comments below. And if you like this video or any of my machine quilting tutorials, I hope that you'll give the video a thumbs up or subscribe so that you don't miss any future videos. Well, I'll see you in my next video where we start working on an actual quilt with our new rulers. Happy quilting!